Listen, without you, I am not here. You are my motivation. So thank you 1,000%. This is for those who want and who can do more. You have options in the description below. Pick the one that fits you best. May I suggest a membership program only because it's the easiest, most financially sound way to support the channel without thinking so hard. But understand that by you watching from start to finish, liking, commenting, and all this good stuff, interacting with the video pushes the algorithm forward. So do not minimize the importance of the like button. Thank you so much again for your support. Okay, so we all saw when he appeared in court last week. And eventually, Judge Darrell decided to make him pay more money for the victims. What I do see here in terms of his body language, there's something quite subtly different. And again, which speaks a lot to what he is going through inside Dodge. He's not doing well, and he's trying to convince us that he is, okay? Of course, for those who are new here, I am Alistair Hanzekio, and this is just my point of view. The number one thing that speaks a lot of volume here is the fact that he groomed. Because he gets to be in front of the team of the people that gave him the notoriety. He is looking for a way to feed. He's looking to be in front of the camera and feed. But make no mistake, he is absolutely depressed. He's not happy. He is deflated. I'm going to point out a few things and I tell you why I believe so. Okay, so let's look at that.
Court's calendar. Originally, I had been scheduled to be in a 5-week trial starting February 13th. And then that was delayed by 2 weeks, and ultimately that trial was adjourned. And so that was the reason for the hearing being scheduled on today's date. So for now, I don't anticipate your client having to talk. I can just hear background. So I'm just going to mute it. And if we need to talk to him, we'll unmute. There'll be a 30-second delay unless he has the device there, but to unmute. But in any event, I think I've accurately stated kind of the timing of the requests. As I understand, the additional paperwork that was filed as recently as...
It was very subtle. I'm going to replay in the editing. So the judge is pretty much talking her spiel, saying, scheduling conflict, that's why we're here. I'm going to mute him because it's not really necessary for him to talk. There was an eye roll, but before the eye roll came, there was a disappointing sigh. I'm going to point it out in the editing. Something has happened that made him not happy, and I suspect is the mute button. I suspect that not because he planned on interrupting. In his demeanor, you could tell right away that he is submissive. Obviously, he has his appellate lawyer here. I don't even think he was even planning on interrupting. But I think the fact that the judge has exerted a modicum of power in his head has irritated him. And it's made him feel small. That's why he is reacting. But he's not reacting as outbursty as we used to. He is depressed. He is stuck in a ebb. Stuck in an ebb. Because the Darrell Brooks that we know, this is we don't know this guy. We don't know him. Who is this? Who is this? We don't know him. But no, this is him. This is his true self. He's absolutely insecure, absolutely intimidated, and not master at all, not even of his own self.
I didn't do the math. If that's...
Yes, I wanted to be clear on that. So at the bottom it notes you've already ordered sum of 124,220.65 to crime victim compensation.
Yes.
The grand total that's listed at the top of 134,466.85 encompasses that 124. So this is not in addition to. Okay. So our request for Crime victim compensation is 134,466.85. For Wilbur and Associates or Hartford Insurance, total request is $108,164.61. Optum subrogation, $118.
What you just saw there is him taking a calculator or at least a piece of paper to write those numbers down. So he was not paying attention until the numbers started rolling. He doesn't have a cell phone. Of course he's not. He's in custody. The best thing he may have is a pen and paper. So he's writing it down. He feels he has been wronged so significantly that even adding an extra penny will make it a big deal for him. So he's looking maybe at the papers to make sure that she doesn't get it right. She doesn't get it wrong. I'm sorry. But definitely his attention has now been attracted to Attorney Alper talking about restitution. He's paying attention.
Amounts that you're seeking. And then this document really totals things up.
Yes, it does. And at the bottom, already ordered the EMC insurance for Waukesha School District. That was already ordered and there's no update to that number. So that number can remain as fixed.
I'm just going to do a quick.
He made a big gulp. Now, you and I, we swallow our saliva every day. It's not a big deal. When you have to gulp and when you have to use muscle, when you have to actively use extra muscles to create a gulp, it's a stress response. It's a stress response. I give you an example. Have you ever got into a heated argument with a spouse, a friend, or anybody, and then you find your mouth very dry, and then, like this thing? He just did that. It's not because you can't swallow. When you get a spike of cortisol, when your stress hormone spikes, you don't control how you're going to do things. Anything can happen. You could shake, you could shiver when you talk, you could go like that, or you go, your mouth can get dry. So there's stress going on. And I suspect, because I think we understand him quite well now, I suspect that stress is because he does not quite understand what is happening in that room. He knows they're talking about money. He knows they're talking about restitution, but he doesn't understand, like, why is my lawyer quiet? What's going on? Why are they fidgeting on the papers? Why is there silence? He wants to be in on the talk, but he's not quite smart to really understand everything that's happening. And so there's a little panic that goes on, right? You could also see in terms of how he gets closer to the camera because he wants to listen to every word, right? At the beginning, he's laid back, reclused. But as we progress along this trial, he is forward and engaged. He really wants to make sure he doesn't miss a single word. Right? So there's a level of nervousness there. We'll see what he's nervous about.
Your client have any objection to that?
If there's additional restitution, I don't object to the escrow account.
That would be for monies paid to Mr. Brooks, not a restitution, not a escrow account beyond that. Under 949-165.
I'm sorry, counsel, if I may, just for 1 second. Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks. Judge, counsel explained to me briefly what she was getting at. I don't have any objection to that.
All right. Then it seems to me there's really just some legal arguments as to whether I should.
Did you see how upset he got? Look, his reaction when his appellate lawyer said I have no objection. It doesn't even matter what was discussed between the two attorneys. I was looking at Darrell Brooks' reaction because he's muted and he's expecting his lawyer to fight tooth and nail to get him to walk outside, take a shower, go to the mall, hang out with his friends and have a good blunt. No, you think I'm ridiculous? He truly believes that's what's going to happen. So he's looking at his lawyer like, what the hell? What? You're not objecting? No, because anything that will come out of Attorney Opper, Darrell Brooks does not sign. He doesn't co-sign. He does not agree by default. So he's a little bit irritated at the fact that his attorney didn't object. And also partially he didn't understand what was being talked about. So he's like, what? You're not objecting? I don't understand. What? And look at that face. You could tell his irritation is rising. If this was the scenario that we've all accustomed to seeing him at, this is where he would have made a rant. I don't understand the nature of my charges. A mess.
Legal arguments as to whether I should order the additional restitution.
Yes, Judge.
The stipulation then would put us in a position where Mr. Brooks does not need to testify. That's my understanding, and that would be how I would proceed. Anyone see that any differently, Attorney Opper?
We do not.
Judge, that was the reason why I suggested the stipulation.
All right, thank you. Then, since it is the state's request for additional restitution, I'll hear from the state.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, we are asking this court to order restitution in the full amount as proposed in the document we filed yesterday. I think you said it was 566.
Yes, here.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just don't know the document number.
Yes, it is document number 566.
Judge, we certainly understand ability to pay as one of the factors that the court is to consider here, but we'd like to highlight a couple of things. First of all, one of the goals of restitution is to rehabilitate the defendant. We think that is an important goal in this case, noting the damage that was inflicted by this defendant to multiple victims. We would note that most of the monies, or at least a majority of the monies, came from the Crime Victim Compensation Fund, which really is funded by taxpayers. It's a state fund, and that I'm glad to see on this list there's no individual victims that are still looking to be made whole, that it was either covered by Crime Victim Compensation or insurance companies. So I think it's important that we recognize that in the desire for the public to have those monies repaid to the CVC if appropriate. As far as the insurance companies, the same, Your Honor. While I understand they operate as a for-profit business, these were substantial expenses that they had to cover for their insured, for their clients, and a direct result of the defendant's conduct and the significant injuries that several of these victims suffered as a result of Mr. Brooks' behavior. So we do believe that it's both fair and appropriate for the court to order the whole amount, notwithstanding that limitation. The reality is that perhaps this will never be achieved by Mr. Brooks in his lifetime on prison wages, but it would serve a rehabilitative purpose, because should he ever receive employment within the prison system and a wage, albeit minimum, it would be a reminder to him and aid in his rehabilitation that for whatever monies he earns in the prison, a portion of it does go back to the Crime Victim Compensation Fund. And the other thing is, Your Honor.
Did you see that? All right. So here's what the laughter is about. Few things to pay attention to. There's tension in his jaw. Tension in his jaw, he's clenched. And I want to go back to my previous observation of how he swallowed very hard as a spike of stress hormones. In other words, his body was awake, right? But his jaw, this tension is very clenched. It's very serious. He's paying attention. He's very attentive. The clenched jaw also is, he's upset. but he can't do an outburst because the outburst will yield nothing. The outburst will yield nothing. So, the reason why he laughed there is because we heard the word rehabilitation. And I mean, I understood what that meant. It's a polite way of saying it's a polite way of saying no matter, for as long as you breathe, you will forever be reminded of your crime. But he didn't understand that. So he was like, oh, they're going to rehabilitate me. Darling, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. But once the attorney Sue Harper made it very clear, listen, no. The purpose of this rehabilitation is that every time if he gets a wage, every time he gets paid all the minimum wage, those monies will go towards the victim, which will be a reminder of his crime, which is part of the rehabilitation. And that's why he laughed. He laughed. He was like, in his mind, that's not rehabilitation. In his mind, it didn't compute to the definition of rehabilitation that he thought it was. And that's why he giggled. It's a word definition that broke his concentration, and he giggled at it. He laughed because to him it's absurd. To him, that's not considered rehabilitation. And let me tell you why it is considered rehabilitation. Because a lot of the times when you do something outrageous, whether it be a crime or whatever, your body may shield you from understanding the traumatic event. And part of healing is to face your trauma 99% of the time. And so it might seem ridiculous to you criminals, but no, it's important. It's important to face your truth. And his truth is he's a murderer. He's a horrible murderer and he killed a lot of people, and he needs to face that. That's a truth that he cannot hide away from. And the judge and the court will not allow him to do that. But it's part of rehabilitation, because once that pummels through his head, then allegedly will be open to healing. But let me tell you something. Darrell Brooks is upset because after that giggle, look how he went back to that tension.
Obtain money in the form of payment to sell his story, to engage in a book deal or a movie offer or whatever it is. We know that this case garnered international attention. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that someone may at some point offer him some funds or some sum of money to share his perspective on this case. And so I would hate for this court to, set $100,000 today and then tomorrow he gets a $500,000 book deal. That would be offensive, I think, and go beyond the scope and the purpose of restitution. So for that reason, Your Honor, even noting his
Okay, he laughed there too. And let me tell you why he laughed. Because this is not the first time Darrell Brooks tried to get paid for opening his mouth. I want to remind you at the very beginning, when he was in custody and when he committed a crime, the New York Post went and, hello, sir, hello. Not only did he tell the New York Post, get the F out of my face. As a matter of fact, he started talking in third person. I did a video about that. If you can go back and check it out. Don't quite remember where it is. I mean, I know it's up there in the notes. I have to look for it. But he's laughing because, again, it's another point where attorney Sue Harper checkmates him. And that laughter, it's an upset laughter. It's because he goes straight from laughing for a few seconds and then goes right back to clenching with an attitude. It's almost like he is upset. In his mind, he's like, you've already got your guilty verdict. I'm already here for 1,000 years. Now you want to take away my ability. You know what I mean? Like, he feels wronged and he's giggling, and that laughter, it's just a expression of stress because he's not able to outwardly react. And this facial expression right here, when you put your eyebrows up this way, you know what that does? It actually brings more oxygen to your brain. It's a self-soothing technique. It's a self-soothing technique. Yeah. And Sue Upper is completely correct. 50 years from now, look at Jeffrey Dahmer's story. 20 years from now, 40 years from now, is he going to be alive? Yes, he will. He will. He'll be 80, please. When you get, look, those tax dollars over there, they treat you good. You eat a good meal. You have internet. You have hot shower. You have recreation. You have TV. You have cable. You don't understand, guys. There are people out here who are not criminals who struggle to pay their rent. People out here who are not criminals who struggle to eat. People out here who are not criminals who struggle to even sleep warm or have hot water. I think for criminals who are like him, I don't think they're deserving of the amenities of the basics of being civilized. I've said it. I have said it because my tax dollars can go and be spent on someone that deserves it. No. And you can throw tomatoes, I'll dodge them all, and you can throw suggestions and stuff like that. I found it so wrong. Someone who's refused, look, he never worked a day in his life. He never paid into taxes. And now we have to take care of him until he dies. You and me. Yes, please. And the Wisconsins, but federally, please. You trace that money, it goes right into his pocket and he has a hot meal, holidays, a bed, security. Infuriating, and the audacity that he's just going to be like, you're going to take my money away from me. I want a book deal, a movie deal. Yeah, it's not unrealistic. I can tell you right now, it's not. Look at all the criminals these days. It's not unrealistic. 20 years from now, there'll be a Darrell Brooks movie. By the way, quick pause here. This is important to say. If you liked the video thus far, press like. And if you haven't done so, subscribe. And, I know I put my little hearts and likes and all that stuff here, etc. But I figured that maybe if I told you to do it, you'll do it. Do it. No, let's continue. With a narcissist, when they're not able to feed off other people's validation, they go through depression because they view themselves in the most disgusting light you can imagine. A narcissist has absolutely no confidence. They rely on their stories that they spin. But in order for those stories to have credibility, they need you to validate their story. So when you have a pro-narcissist like Darrell Brooks, allegedly, who is in a prison where no one cares and there's no one around for him to feed, they actually end up believing their own narrative, which is that of a loser. Now, we all know he's a loser, but Darrell Brooks also believes he's a loser. And one of the beautiful things about him being in prison is that he's going to have to live with that truth. And that's a hard pill to swallow for narcissists.
Although I'm relatively new to the case, I can state just from my review of the file so far, I haven't heard anything at all about anybody offering any kind of book deal or any kind of sums of money in any way, shape, or form to Mr. Brooks. I think it's the odds of Hollywood knocking down his door to give him lots of money for his life story. I think given the totality of the circumstances of this case, I just think are so minuscule that I don't think that argument should be given much weight. I also couldn't imagine any of the media, whether it's a YouTube blogger or the people that are next door to this courtroom, offering Mr. Brooks any money for some kind of exclusive interview. I cannot foresee the future with 1,000% certainty, but I think the odds of that, again, are just exceptionally low. I appreciate the fact, Judge, that the state's stipulating that he's indigent. I think counsel mentioned minimum, and I just want to make sure that the court recognizes that we're not talking minimum wage as a legal 17.
Mr. Covey, you're wrong. Because I can guarantee you, if there's an interview that says, Darrell Brooks interview, we're all going to watch. We're all going to watch. We are all going to watch. Honey, we're all going to watch. He is a magnet of eyeballs. We're all going to watch. So, Mr. Covey, have a seat. Have several seats. Have a glass of water. And I don't know, go read some more scripts. Now, he has to do his job as a defense lawyer and protect his client at all costs.
If he's offered work in any of the facilities that he's going to be serving time at best he'll be getting perhaps a few dimes an hour for janitorial work or cleaning up the kitchen. The type of wages that are earned by inmates in our correctional system, they're not used to save up lots of money. They're used to sometimes save up to buy a bag of Doritos or some deodorant or toiletries.
Look how attentive he is paying attention. As a defense lawyer, of course, he had a conversation with his client. And that's obviously one of the strategies that they've discussed that they're going to bring in front of Judge Darrell and play on her goodwill, so to speak, to not increase by 10,000 and change the compensation fund under the pretext that he's going to be broke for the rest of his life. Darrell is paying very close attention because this is the strategy. This is his pièce de résistance. I'm going to keep playing. Look into his eyes.
That's essentially his earning capacity. If they let him work, perhaps $1 or $2 a day if he works the entire day. So that's the reality of what he's facing.
I paused there because his eyeballs is looking at, obviously he's seeing what we're seeing here. He's looking at his attorney, but he's looking at the judge. He's trying to see if that strategy has any effect on the judge. And the judge is giving him his poker face, darling. She's like, her good ass hair. But anyway, it's very subtle, but he is gulping. He is just super tense because this is the moment of truth. This is the moment. This is the moment. This is where my lawyer is going out there and perform. So he's nervous. He's leaned in. He's attentive. His cortisol level is very high. And at some point there, his body is going to take over and start to do reuptake. And we're going to see how that looks like. But he's still very much engaged. Let's continue.
Judge, counsel touched on this, and I appreciate her argument. Frankly, whether you order 50,000 or 500,000 or 5 million, it's very unlikely that Mr. Brooks would be able to pay even the smallest fraction of that. But this hearing still matters. This is not just a moot point or a moot exercise because you do have the duty, Judge, to.
Okay. He did a sigh. This is a physiological response of someone that's stressed and he's looking for a relief. At that moment, his body's probably tired of clenching, wants more oxygen, and you get an autonomous sigh. Now, from looking at this point, what I can tell from my science background is that at that particular moment, he is tired. This is where reuptake is starting to take place. There's no more any stressors. The fight and flight is starting to turn off. So reuptake is starting to take over. And that's where you start to see him just relax. To me, that's the beginning of a relaxed state, which started with a sigh. But of course, behind the scenes, reuptake has already begun because there's nothing to fight about. Sue Upper is not talking. The judge is looking at her papers. He's not triggered. Therefore, he is relaxing and reuptake is starting to take over.
Balance 5 sometimes competing factors as listed in Wisconsin Statute 973.2013. I mentioned it in my motion. And then, of course, the 5th factor was I sent a letter to the court about that yesterday. The 5 factors are the amount of loss suffered by any victim as a result of the crime considered at sentencing. 2, financial resources of the defendant. 3, the present and future earning ability of the defendant. 4, the needs and earning ability of the defendant's dependents. And 5, any other factor which the court deems appropriate.
So another telltale sign that he is relaxed is that he's easily distracted. So he's no longer laser focused. But there's also another thing in terms of his body language, right? The camera is positioned upward. And when he's leaned in, of course he wants to pay attention because he's interested. But he's leaned in like this. This is a rest position for your neck, right? You burn a lot less energy like this. So this area right here is resting on the back of your shoulders, on your rear delts, right? Now, I'll point it out more as we go forward, but do not minimize that. So he's paying attention, but he's in a relaxed state. He's not as threatening. He's not as triggered. That's not a telltale sign. And he's easily distracted. He's easily distracted, right? His lawyer's talking. He doesn't have to pay attention. He feels like comfortable.
I would respectfully disagree that this is about rehabilitation. Given the length of Mr. Brooks' sentence, I think this is just more additional punishment, adding extra zeros to the judgment of conviction for money that he owes. I recognize the gravity of the harm, and I mean no disrespect to anybody who suffered any injuries or the medical bills from this case. But given the totality of the circumstances, his multiple life sentences, I just don't think it makes sense to add on any additional restitution. It's just more paperwork, potentially extra hearings for no really just purpose except to add extra numbers on the judgment of conviction.
This particular argument the defense is making, they have a talk together, is that Darrell Brooks feels like he's being extra punished. Forget about the whole like I'm broke, all that stuff. Not really. What he wants the judge to know and what he wants us to know is that you are doing too much. You are doing, us taxpayers in the courts, you're doing too much. You're doing the most. I'm already going to die here. Why are you going to increase the cap? You're doing too much. Yeah. But there's something else. Because the reason why that feeling of his, feeling like he's being mistreated, extra punished, is linked to something else. Because Darrell wants something. Darrell wants something. Listen to me. Narcissists don't just roam around for no reason. They always want something. They are feeders. They always want something. You will never meet a narcissist that does not want something. If it's not your accolade, if it's not your praises, they want something. They always want something. What does he want? Besides walking free, realistically speaking, because he knows very well that he's stuck there, right? But what does he want? What does he want? What does he want? I'm going to tell you. And as a side note, personally, I believe in the death penalty. I think certain crimes need to be met with appropriate situations. And I've always spoken to my client who's a judge, he's a friend. And I've asked him why the law hasn't really updated to the fact, like, when the crime is so obvious like this, why go through all this mess? And he told me, Alistair, that's not how it works. Be quiet. I said, okay. Okay. I almost said his name. Oof. Anyway, so the death penalty, I believe, and I think tax dollars, because America wastes tax dollars like it's candy. As a taxpayer, this is my opinion, I will wholeheartedly support that my tax dollars is put to good use to make sure criminals like him are buried, never to see the light of day. Not just buried. Buried! Is there more than buried? How far down can you go? I mean, because hell is not enough. Hell is not enough. Hell is not enough. I'm a nice man. I'm also very spiteful. Hell is not enough. There are certain things that if you do that crosses a line, there's no going back. I believe that there's a point of no return. And I think if the laws were super crystal clear that if you cross a certain threshold, you are not only are you going to be buried, but you're going to be endlessly punished. Endless. Because what value, what do you equate the loss of a life? Excuse me, one life sentence is not enough. This is what I believe. So when I hear this defense lawyer talking about how, excuse me, don't overpunish, I can't connect. I can't connect because people like him cannot be punished enough. Chris Watts, please punish him some more. Him, please punish him some more. Who else? Sarah Boone, punish her all the way. All the way. This is where I'm like, yes, tax dollars, pummel. I'm a scorched earth kind of guy. I am. I don't have that much of a middle ground. Certain situations, I'm like, no. Yeah, purgatory. No. Hell all day. What a tangent, right? Then you guys must be like, what the hell did I just click on? Hi. If you made it this far, please press the like button. You don't understand how much this pushes the algorithm. You understand me? And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Look at all this. Look at all that. Look at that. Do you not see that? I think like is it. Like. What is here? Share, I think. I know subscribe is down here. Oh, and the bell notification. Click! I'm friendly. All right, let's continue.
In addition to the type of loss that was suffered here, I mentioned this earlier, there was death, great bodily harm, certainly emotional and physical trauma. Because this involved a parade and Mr. Brooks driving through it, there's also that sense of security and safety in our community that he robbed not just the parade goers on that fateful day, but really the community, the state.
Okay. Look, what does Darrell Brooks want? I'll tell you at the end. It's so obvious, but we're getting close to the few clues that tell us exactly what he wanted, exactly what he was planning to do. Not just by himself, probably behind the scenes, employing his harpies, if you know what I mean. But listen, look at that face. Do you remember how I talked to you? The camera is a little elevated, right? Right? Pay attention, but relaxed. Look at him. Not only is he paying attention, he is confrontational. What did you just say? What did she say? Oh, right. So she said that in addition to the bodily harm, there's the emotional harm. But you robbed us of the sense of safety. And for those who don't know what that means, yeah, because I can guarantee you, there's a reason why I stopped going to movie theaters. And there are reasons why I will not go to certain states. Because that sense of safety is important. So here's the shocker. That's what the judge said. And so he's pissed. He's pissed because the judge has showed him a glimpse of his face in a mirror. He knows exactly what he did, but he does not want to hear it. He does not want somebody else to look into his swill. And the fact that she points this out tells him that she sees through him. I mean, we all seen it, but listen, in his mind, he believes that he was able to fool all of us. He believes that he's able to enchant us and charm us. It hasn't really quite set in the fact that we see through all of that. And so he's upset. He's pissed at the judge that she is seeing right through him. In a real life scenario, this would be the moment where he assaults. Because he's not the kind of guy to walk away or ghost. This is the moment where Darrell Brooks, if this was in a regular setting, this would be the moment where he would get up, smack that judge, if he could. This will be a domestic violence situation. And listen, look how he's looking at that judge. The judge is always on the left side of his screen. If he could, he would. At that moment, his cortisol level has shot up. His fight and flight has triggered. He is ready for a fight. And it's going to stay elevated. It always does a little bit. Now let's see what happens. Let's follow his ebb and flow of his emotional crisis. Nice hair, that judge. You know who she reminded you of? I was driving home, and I was like, this judge reminds me of Wonder Woman. Like the anime, the cartoon. Yeah, that thick black hair. Yeah, Wonder Woman. I'm not saying it because she's Wonder Woman. I'm talking about if you look at the anime and the cartoon, look at Wonder Woman's hair, and when Wonder Woman starts to fight, that hair flips all over the place. I'm like, oh, Josh Darrow. Why am I so obsessed with the weirdest things?
I think anyone who's heard anything about this case would feel a real sense of security that was stolen by Mr. Brooks. I do think the state's argument on...
Again, just I roll. Now, if someone said something to me that's not true and I roll, I wouldn't care. Elster, you are a murderer. You're so funny. Whatever. I certainly would not be like, whatever. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Like if it hits too hard, if it's an eye roll, why are you upset? Because it hits the string. That's why you're upset.
Rehabilitation is a solid argument. The bottom line is Mr. Brooks completely minimized his conduct both during the trial and at sentencing. And it is important, if only symbolic, that while he is in prison for the rest of his life, that whatever meager sums he might make with a prison wage, that there be a reminder to him why there is this deduction from his monies, that his ability to go to the canteen or to buy some extra item that's not otherwise provided by the prison, that there be that reminder to him that he doesn't have even the full access to whatever money is on his account. Now, I'd remind everyone the law caps.
Okay. So one telltale sign of reuptake is, cortisol, stress hormones are very tiring. They tire you out. When you do a reuptake, when reuptake happens, it mellows you out. You're exhausted. And what we just saw here, as soon as the judge mentioned that it doesn't even matter, even if he makes the meager sum of, even if the earning is meager, I don't give a rat's ass. His blinking increased. His breathing increased. So he's taking in more oxygen. He's blinking a lot more. These are signs of a cool down. So, in other words, the verdict coming after there is not going to be in his favor. He understands that. Why that's significant? Because it plays into what he really wants, what he really wanted, and what he really was working towards. I'm going to say allege, but I can read between a lot of lines. If someone tries it before, then most likely will do it again. Nobody, please, randomness, it doesn't quite super exist like that. Random Lady Luck is a lazy is a lazy woman. Okay, Lady Luck is like, what? You bother me again? No. Lady Luck is not a CEO, darling. Lady Luck is smoking weed and hanging out. Like, don't bother me. No, he's this reuptake. His brain understands what's coming. They did not succeed. He understands it right away. And listen to what comes up next, because the judge says the thing he does not want to hear.
Funded. And so I think that's another consideration for this court to look at and consider. Now, I do have to balance. I'll look at all the criteria. Obviously, significant amount of loss. That's criteria reflected in sub 13 sub A.
His blinks are more frequent. His blinks are very slow and sluggish. He has surrendered. This is where he is no longer truly engaged. He has surrendered. He is no longer interested. And reuptake, his fight and flight has cooled down. Reuptake is taking its effect, and he's getting tired. He's getting exhausted. He's emotionally drained.
It's not an impossibility, let's say. It's, I think, a very real possibility that someone might produce something someday for more of a commercial or theatrical type purpose, even if it's a true crime type situation. And that it's possible that Mr. Brooks could profit from that.
Look what wakes him up. Oh, honey, this is where we know exactly what he wanted.
And that certainly is why at the time of sentencing, the court addressed the request by the state related to the escrow account. I think that's important to do that here. And so when I balance all of these things, when I consider the significant amount of the loss, the court's desire to hold Mr. Brooks accountable, and even if it's a small reminder with his prison monies, that does serve a very important rehabilitative role, because even though he's serving successive life sentences, we all hope that one day he truly is able to accept full responsibility for what he has done, not minimize his conduct, and so that this award of restitution in full, as the state has requested, is important. And I will grant the additional amounts, as I indicated earlier. It's $10,246.20 to crime victim compensation. That total then to them for the judgment of conviction is $134,466.85. Then to Wilbur and Associates, which is Hartford Insurance, $108,000, $164.61. Optum Subrogation, $118,805.62. And then Progressive Insurance for victim GGG, $10,000, and Progressive Insurance for victim Q, $104,662.64. That is, of course, on top of what a court had already ordered to EMC Insurance of $47,193.29. So again, I'll grant the request of the state. Will also include that it be payable out of any prison monies per state statute, and the court under 949.165 makes the additional amounts of restitution ordered today subject to the escrow account under that statute. Anything?
He was falling asleep, didn't quite care. She talked about potential of XYZ, but she said potential of being paid for an interview. That immediately woke him up. It's very subtle. The long blinks has gone out and he started to stare a little longer. The blink reduced. They were not as heavy. There was a rise in something. His attention was caught. And because he is already in a defeatist mental state, he has to tell himself that he doesn't care. And that's where you see that reaction when he's just like eye roll and walk away. He could have done that for the good. I mean, the judge were talking for literally 10 minutes. But the moment she started interjecting exactly at the possibility of him making money for an interview, he paid attention. And he eye rolled. That laughter at the end, when the judge said, "It's my best hope that, he takes responsibility for what he has done." That smirk is, again, in his mind, the world revolves around him. This is him telling himself, "I'm not going to give you what you want." That's why he giggled and it's like, "Yeah, okay, you're not going to get that." That's why he did it. Maybe he came to terms with it. Maybe he realized it. But at that particular moment, he wanted to get a win for himself. He's in a self-soothing position. He's hunched. He's leaned back, by the way, meaning that he's no longer as engaged, right? He's leaned back. He's like, whatever, I'm being punished. Listen to me very closely. I'm going to tell you exactly, I'm going to put alleged because lawsuits are real. I'm going to tell you exactly / allegedly what's going through his head when he walked in there. This is so unfair. Look, they know I'm broke. I can't pay for nothing. And then look what they are doing. They are making me pay $10,000 more and I get paid 10 cents an hour. Oh my God, that's so little. What? Good. And then, anyway, you want me to, yeah. What was I talking about? It doesn't even matter what I'm talking about. The real issue here is that now he walked in there really thinking the outcome would be in his favor. Because in his mind, he believes he is so charming and he was able to enchant. No, but the reality is, guys, we laugh and we giggle and we kiki and we do all this silly stuff. But listen to me very closely. The reality is that this type of gaslighting is absolutely effective in the real world. You have no idea. You may know a Darrell Brooks, but you have no idea it's a Darrell Brooks because they're nice to you in the office, but you don't know what they are. Like at home, you have no idea that this kind of emotional blackmailing is extremely effective. Do you know why it's effective? Because most people are empathetic. If someone comes up to you and say, "Please help me, I fell, ow, my leg, can you call 911, please?" Of course, right? Most people are empathetic, sympathetic. So, and they don't give a crap about you. And so they will say whatever they need to say to get you to, okay. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's con-ish. It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous because by the time you realize it, you better hope you are not dead. No, there will be more Darrell Brooks. I'll tell you why. Because he's not going to let go. Listen to me. Jeffrey Dahmer paid. Netflix paid. They paid. And this is the thing. My lawyer was explaining to me very carefully when I had a consult with them. They said, listen, the more notorious the person is, you can talk about them like that. You certainly cannot make a dime about that person. The more notorious or the more famous a person is, you got to watch every single word you make because they now have legal rights to whatever you do with their likeness, their name. You got to be very careful how you phrase it, how you word it. You got to be super careful with how that stuff works. Because as a nobody, like if someone takes my likeness and sell my picture, I'd be like, excuse me, courts, don't sell me. I'm not known. Nobody knows me. So the court would be like, be quiet, go away. But if I become a celebrity and you take my picture, honey, you're going to pay. But criminals are notorious. He has international fame. And it's important that these two ladies, Wonder Woman and Sue Harper, have to figure out a way to make sure that he does not get away with getting some money. Because if Darrell Brooks does not get the money, you know who else does? It's not Erica Patterson. She's not married to him. It's not his kids. It's going to be his mom. It's going to be his mom. And another reason why this was their plan all along is because Darrell Brooks has tried before to get paid for an interview. Don Woods has tried before to be an advocacy for what? For mental illness. And listen, nobody works for free. I tell you that. Nobody really works for free. So if you're going to be an advocate for mental illness, at some point you're going to get some coins. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So they had a plan to do interviews. They had a plan. They had a plan because nobody does something for no reason. Like Lady Luck is a lazy woman. Lady Luck is like, what do you want? No, I'm busy. Tough luck. Do you know what I'm saying? No, they had a plan. And the fact that the judge was like, interviews, stories, monies. No! It woke him up. It woke him up. It made him very upset. That gives me a little innuendo. That's what they want to do all along. Because they tried before. Why should stop them try it again? And let me tell you something. Someone will make the story. Someone will make the story. This is what I say. As a business advice. Listen to me. Look, I'm not that smart, but I have some advices I can give. Listen, Erica Patterson, if you're listening, this is your time to go and speak to someone to get paid for a story. This is your time, because you wait too long, nobody's gonna care. And you won't have enough leverage. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Anyway, that's a tip. That's a tidbit. A tip. This is the time. All right, that's it. Now let's move on to the Let's Talk. But wait, listen. If you made it this far, that means you like me enough. Perfect. So you press like, right? Perfect. And you subscribe, right? Perfect. And if you're not, what are you doing? Click. Look at me all threatening. Fine. Look. La 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 la. Perfect. Let's go to my Let's Talk. Wow, people might think I'm an idiot. It's okay. I've been called worse. Let's talk. So for those who are new here, Let's Talk is when I just talk to you about everything and anything and all that stuff. So look, if you haven't done so, look here again. I have to do it. Listen, as much as I try to make this as an easy breezy, beautiful cover girl situation, I can't, because YouTube is going to bury me. If I get buried, then we all go under. So I need to at least skip above water. I got to do, unfortunately, people don't know the behind the scenes. Listen, YouTube is not a joke. It's not a joke. It's not fun and blogging and fun and games. No, it's not. It's a real business. If you don't treat it like a business, if you don't treat it like a blog, they said, sure, no problem. You could try as a blog, but you could do it over there. Yeah. So, I'm like, I'm going to be lazy. I can't even be lazy. Anyway, I'm picking my eyeballs because I have allergies. Those allergies are out of control. Listen, we're being murdered by tree semen. I've said it. The trees are having a good old time, having sex all over the air, and we're breathing it in and coughing. My God. Ridiculous. Medicines don't even work. What's going on? What's happening? Help me. Anyway, what's new with me? I'm a single father for the week. Christopher's been going a lot on business trip, and I said to Chris, I'm like, you are so annoying with your business trip. What am I going to do? I have a job too. But you got to do it. What's the alternative? You got to do it. And my mother-in-law is like, I don't feel like watching the bed. Good luck. I'm like, anybody help me? My mom is like, I'm too far. Thank God for daycare. Okay? Thank God for daycare. So everything until Chris is back is timed to the second. It's already like, what, 2 or 3 minutes? I got to go very soon, right? Because I got to edit this. You know how long edit it takes. And I got to pick her up. I got to do all this before 3 to 4 p.m. because I don't like her to be at daycare for so long. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because I drop her off at 7:30, 8 a.m. in the morning, all the way up to 5 or 6. Are you out of your mind? That's too long for a kid. That's my baby. How much time do I have left with her? No. So I'll hurry up so I can go and pick her up and like play with her a little bit because we can't do that in the morning because we got to rush and be out. You know, like I want to wiggle and jiggle and I want to twirl with her. Do you know what I mean? I want to pick her up, jump. But, you know, I need her to be awake enough to like it. I can't have a, come on, Epia. I can't do that, right? So I need to pick her up quickly. Anyway, how have you been? I hope everything's good. I hope everything's great. I hope your life is good. Listen, the live last week, I'm not going to call you out, but you know who you are. How's your husband? I hope he's doing okay. That's it. And such good time with the live. What? It's funny. So it's funny because I get striked a lot. I get striked for cursing. And then, I'm friends with Beefy, and I was talking Beefy, and I was like, Beefy, I get striked all the time. Beefy's like, really? Because I curse like a sailor, nothing happens to me. I go, really? Because, honey, I have to bleep, talk about like, hello, good evening, everybody. Hi, welcome, have a seat. Today, we're going to do, play the harp. I have to literally, Beefy's like, there's apparently something going on with YouTube being racially discriminative. I said, really? I said, really? He's like, yeah. Like, I'm not striked for anything. What is that? Oh, okay. I'm not striked for anything. I said, really? Because he's like, I curse, I swear, and nothing happens to him. Like, even if I say, and they tell you why. They tell you why, by the way. I said, really? Yeah, I was like, okay. I have experience with suing someone, aka New Jersey, for discrimination. New Jersey? Yeah, New Jersey. Don't play with me with that. Don't play with me with that. You know, come on. Like, I'm not telling you what you should believe in. You could believe what you believe in, but I don't want to know. Keep it to yourself. But once you make it known to me, then, I got too much to lose. I got a kid to feed and a retirement to plan and my safety. No. If I'm aware of it, then I have to deal with it. I'm like, okay, interesting. I keep a closer eye, YouTube. By the way, did you see, oh, no, I can't talk about that. Definitely not here in public. Honey, I will get crucified. No. And I shared with you why PACT Nation was born, right? Crazy story. And I looked it back. It was so hard to look it back. I'm still not over it. I'm still not completely over it. And it really goes to tell you that certain things. But then, it's like my therapist said, trauma, whatever you experience in life when it comes to trauma, it never leaves you. This misconception that trauma, you get rid of it. No, you manage it. This is why for, parents who are crazy with their kids, you have no idea what you're doing with them. Now, look, everybody's going to have a level of trauma. Everybody's going to have a level of trauma because you can't be perfect, right? It's just what and the intensity, all that stuff, right? It's, but like there's certain things, like you can't be molesting your children. You can't be, what I mean? Like there's certain things I'm like, listen, you have no idea what you're doing to this kid or to those future adults / taxpayers, Yeah. And so there's certain things as much as grown up as I am, and as much as I have control over a lot of things, certain things makes me it's so hard to surmount, especially me, and I have a very photographic memory. So as I talk to you about this, I remember everything that happened, the faces of my mother, the faces of my mother-in-law, the face of my spouse. I remember everything. Like it was like as if it was so vivid That's why it was really hard to relive it. Anyway, enough about that. Look, I have to go. I love you so much for watching. You are amazing. You're one of the best things that happened to me, but you know that. But I have to tell you that again. Do you want to know why? It's not even about you, it's about me at this point. No, I had to tell you this because that's what I need. I need for me to tell you this. I need for me to tell you that you know that I said it. So whether you take it or not, it's irrelevant. I need to say it. It's 1 p.m. I have to edit in 2 hours because I got to be at that daycare. We're friends. I can be a little bit disgusting, right? I have to be at the daycare before 4. Okay, so goodbye. I never want to leave. Trauma. Don't you like on the live when I go, no, 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 no? Ashley watched it to the end. She was like, Uncle Elsa, stop doing that. I said, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, it's just like, it's pointless. So I won't do it again. No, listen, I'm tough, but no, I pay attention. I only put my foot down when certain lines are crossed, but most of the time, I observe and I listen. And I listen to everything, and I compare and contrast with my morals. And okay, fine. I do a check of situation and go, okay, fine. I can listen. It costs me nothing. If it were to cost me something, I'll listen a little bit harder and double check a little bit. But if it costs me nothing, I'll listen. You know. I had the best conversation with a client of mine. I don't have time. Bye. Click.